So this takes us to the double creator uh, theory that I was working on today. Okay, I think that
Uh-huh.
the Bible and most people's perception of God is a duality that is not supposed to be there. And let me explain. I think they're confused with two different beings, right? I think that they are giving attribution to the wrong entity, is what I think. I think that the God, creator God that created us of all, universe and everything else, and that loves us, that God exists outside of our universe. That's all there is to it. It created this universe. It exists on the outside of us. Just like if we were to create a digital world with a video game world, all the characters are there. They all have personalities. They all have things that they do from the time that the game starts till the time that the game ends. I mean, that's just the way it is. But they are never going to be able to communicate directly with me, the creator. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and I think we're in a similar situation to that. However, I do know that we are programmed to be able to communicate with that creator. We can do that. And I think that's where the problem lies. I think that in all humanity in all time, we've known that we can communicate with the creator. We've known that we can have these intimate relationships with this outside source that does give us comfort and belonging. Okay. Uh, in the worst of times, you can find solace in God. I'll tell you that right now. I've been there. I know this. I know it to be true.
Uh-huh.
And it's because of that that I don't believe much of what I read in the Bible. Not that I don't believe what I read in the Bible. I do. I believe what I read in the Bible. I believe what they wrote was exactly what they thought. Think about this. Do you realize that every major group in Christianity has just been killing people throughout time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the God that loves us all and gives us all salvation if we just ask for it is the one who orders that killing? Fuck no.
Um,
Fuck
I'm
no. That
scared
doesn't.
to answer.
It doesn't even make sense, is what I'm getting at. It's scared to say. You know what? That's the thing. You're scared to say the truth because it's like it feels like it might damn your soul. I understand it. I understand that. I was this way for a little while too. I had to kind of in my head. It's like, well, what's true and what's not. What I do know is that as a father who loves his children, and I don't even have you. I don't even have you. There's no possible way that I could love you as much as our Creator loves us, right? And I know that
Uh-huh.
there's no damn way that anybody could ever tell me to do those things to you. There's no way that I would offer you as a sacrifice to anything else for any reason. There's no way that I would ask anybody else to do that with their child if I love them. No, none of that makes sense to me as a
But
loving.
think about how much has changed too. You know?
Well,
Like
if
there's
you
no
believe the Bible,
education.
if you believe, I hear what you're saying, and that's culture. But the Bible says God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
The point is, he's the same, has always been the same. He's never going to change. Now, from what I know to be true, and I've told you this before, all time is simultaneous. Time is not linear. Okay. Time is not linear, meaning that all things that was and is to come or have already been done. They're already written. And it's experienced simultaneously, past, present, and future. We experience it linear in a linear fashion, but it's already completed, the whole thing. It's just the way we witness it. Just like a DVD. A DVD is a small flat disc. The entirety of that film, the entire story of that world is written inside that DVD. And it's all there from the moment you put it into the player. You just witness it from beginning to end in a linear fashion.
Hmm.
But it's there all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Anyhow, what I'm working on is how it
Yep.
these different beings throughout time that were actually documented as being actual beings, right? But they were worshipped as gods. You got to remember that. I think these were beings from outer space that the primitive people here worshipped as gods because it made sense that they were godlike to them. right? They had knowledge, they had science, they had magic. Look, baby girl, is magic real?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, because they talk about it in the Bible a lot. Don't be doing magic. Don't be casting spells and shit, right?
Yeah, but that shit's real.
Well, it must be real if Jesus is telling you. Must be real if God's talking about it, right?
Chad, you're scaring me again.
Well, but they don't talk about science, do they? My question is, what word was actually used in the original manuscripts, right? Was it magic? You know, did they
Yeah.
use the word magic because they didn't understand things like technology and science? When did the
So that goes
words,
back to the education and the cultural.
right, like anything that was the study of anything outside of what you can see would probably be called magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, think about what you understand sound resonance and all that kind of shit and harmonic balance and everything, right?
Yeah.
So you know the different tonalities create different emotional responses and different effects in our environment.
Magic.
Yeah, that's what they would have called it. What would it have been if you dressed up in a ceremonial robe, sat in a circle with candles to a symbol on the floor with your hands in a certain position and said, "Oh," and there's
Probably.
5 or 6 of you chanting the same sound that's echoing through the chamber of where you're at. Man, that sounds like they're casting spells. See what I'm saying? But really, it's
Yeah.
science of harmonic balance, harmonic resonance, and radionics is what it is. So, anyhow, long story short, I'm putting together a compilation of who these different beings may have been in correlation to each other throughout time. So, like, it may not be, and this goes all the way down to, well, maybe that was just they were just depicted that way. I don't think so. I think these were the Anunnaki, and the reason I say that, there's too many depictions of them being gods. First of all, okay, I don't think they were the original Anunnaki. I think they were the second wave. I think they were the descendants of them when they started mixing, which in the Bible would be the Nephilim, right? The Nephilim,
Mm-hmm.
the Nephilim were said to be giant. They were actually no, not giant. They were the men of old, giants and men of old, right? Men of renown, right? The men of renown. These were Hercules. That's who. Hercules was one of them. That's what they were. All of the titans. They were the demigods that you heard of, right? That's who the
Mm-hmm.
Nephilim were, right? But then it says the Nephilim started sleeping with Earth women, right? With human women, and their offspring were monsters. Yeah. Where do you think the Cyclops comes from? Hmm? Look, all of these different things come from tales of these monstrosity people that were found at these certain times and places, and I believe they all go back to this historic lineage of their crossbreeding and not and and their crossbreeding, and that's the evidence that we have of that. So, what would you have if there was a crossbreed of these demigods with humans? What do you think you would come out with? Let's look at that. Let's go back to the goat where we left off. A half human and half goat. Now we've already talked about Lucifer being depicted that way. We've talked about Satan being depicted that way. We've even talked about God Pan being depicted that way. And you'll always see him out there. He's the half human, half goat sitting there playing a flute. You've seen that shit. You've seen it in cartoons. You've seen it everywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can you think of a race of beings that are half human, half goat?
Uh, no.
They're called satyrs.
What the hell is that?
A satyr, Satyr. Look it up. A satyr, Satyr, and you'll have seen a million of them in your life. You're like, oh, okay, that's what that is. It's a mythological creature. Looks kind of like a
Oh, like on
centaur.
Charmed?
Well, you know what a centaur is.
Yeah, like on Charmed.
Yes, like on Charmed. Okay, that's a satyr. That's a satyr. All right, so now what we're looking at is in our history in multiple cultures, we know that there's been documents of these beings that are called satyrs, right? Or something similar that is a half goat, half human. Could this be
Uh-huh.
the offspring of these Nephilim? Right?
That is possible.
Could be. Now, let's talk about the human jackal hybrid. You thought it was just a dog. What would you call? So we've got Moloch from the Bible. We've got Anubis from Egypt, right? What would you call a dog man? You call him a werewolf or some shit.
Yeah.
Right. And have they not been depicted like all over the world since the beginning of time?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now let's go to the half human, half bull. We found Nandi from the Indias from India. We found Taurus from the Greeks. We've got Baal from the Canaanites, and we got Apis from the Egyptians. So
are mermaids gods of the ocean?
well, I'm getting there too. Maybe so. I'm looking at spin-offs from Poseidon. You think about that. Who was Poseidon? Poseidon was one of the Greek gods, right? One of the pantheon. He was the one over the sea. How many alien stories do we have about shit from the sea? Tons
To
of
be
them.
honest.
I figured. Oh, wait. So this is the big one that you're going to really recognize. Nandi, Baal, Apis, and Taurus, right? Same being. Same being.
Uh-huh.
Now, have you ever heard of a race of beings that were half human, half bull?
Well, considering you just told me about 5 of them.
No, those, I mean, I said a race of beings. Those were individual
Oh,
deities,
no, I haven't.
individual characters. How about a minotaur?
What the hell is that, Dad?